teach.
something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Live what you teach. I mean, I love that. I mean, explain to me a little bit about that philosophy and how you, I mean, listen, that's a great meme or a great
Yeah.
Facebook post, but most people don't prescribe to that lifestyle. How'd you come about that?
Yeah, I don't know. Partly probably because you see a lot of people, especially on social media today, and I don't, whether they do or they don't. So a lot of people don't live what they teach and preach and they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Some, just like to teach a strong message, and there's nothing wrong with that too. And then, don't realize maybe the weight behind, actually following through on your own advice sometimes. And so
Yeah.
it's just important to me. And I'm not perfect either, so I'm not going to sit here on a
No.
high and mighty throne. But it is important, and it's a good reminder for me too, if I ever do get out of integrity, to pull myself back, to kind of have that as a mantra to live by. But it's important to me if I'm going to be, especially as a coach, I work with a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, and giving them advice, and I'm talking from all the different experiences that I've had. But also, it's important to me that if I'm going to tell them or advise them to live a certain way, that I do the same thing, and to the highest level. I think as a leader, it's so important to you set the standard, right? There's kind of the minimum standard that maybe the Army has, for example. And then I think, as an officer, it's always important that you set that bar a little bit higher, and people are watching you way more than the words you speak. They're watching the actions that you take, and those speak volumes. And so, it's a responsibility that you carry as a leader, but I think it's an important one to carry.
I agree. That's what I loved it so much. And I agree with you 1,000%. As humans, I mean, we're the most imperfect creatures on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
I think a mantra like this, though, for me, what it does is, like you said, it helps me get back into alignment really quick when I find myself. And listen, every human, you find yourself veering a little bit to the left or to the right.
Yep.
And it just, if it's the ability to get back into that alignment and live what you teach and preach, do all the things you say you're going to do, that makes life so much easier. It's like, and you probably learned this. I mean, I try to teach people all the time that, like, as humans, we love structure, I shouldn't say we love it. We need it, and we function better with it.
Yeah.
And if you can learn to love it, life gets a whole lot easier. And I mean, like I said, I've walked the path that you've walked with the sports,
Yep.
and then you walked right into the military, which is probably nothing but structure. And so this is just, was it ingrained in you through those things?
Yeah, I think it was
always like that.
Yeah, I think it was more putting myself in those environments, and yeah, I mean, college football, just even high school athletics, just there is a good amount of structure there, depending on, because there's good coaches and not great coaches, and some have more structure than others. But I was blessed to play for some pretty amazing leaders and coaches that definitely brought that structure. And then you carry that over to the military. Obviously there's a ton of structure there as well. So that's just kind of, when you're in those places, in those environments, and it just kind of over time you adapt that as your mentality and your lifestyle, hopefully, and you carry it forward past that, and as it's ingrained in you, and continue to do that. But at the same time, I think it's also important to, as a leader, to own up to it when you're not, right? And it's okay to not be, because of what we've just talked about. Like, no one's perfect. I just be careful to get in that habit and pattern of always being the guy that's like, if you're constantly owning up to being out of integrity, then that's a little different issue,
right?
And problem. You see that a fair amount too. Like, they just, all of a sudden, they're just hanging their hat on the fact that, well, hey, I owned it. Like, well, like, but you're constantly owning it. It is, like, come on, bro, let's go. It's cool that you're being vulnerable and letting people know that you're not perfect. But at some point, like, if you want to lead others and be the example, you got to fix that. Like, you can't stay stuck there.
Yeah. Two things that I thought of when you're saying that. I've got another good question for you. Is, one of my last philosophies is always confident, sometimes wrong. Like, you gotta, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's a pretty good, I found that for me, that's a pretty good way to approach life. And then when you're wrong, you got to be able to say, hey man, that's not what I thought it was going to be. And I probably screwed that up.
Yeah.
And then, I got the opportunity.